Rose Shue, I'm so glad to see you in your classroom in Texas. I have some questions for you. So, when did you graduate?
I graduated 2 years ago in 2019.
Okay. And what degree did you receive from Furman?
I got a BM in music education.
Very good. Okay. Did you take many classes outside of music?
I took a few. So the music ed major is a lot to pack into 4 years, but there's still a little wiggle room. I took an English class and a philosophy class, and then I was really interested in the elementary side of education in a broader sense than just music. So I took a few classes that are normally offered as part of the elementary education track. So I took a literacy class, like early childhood literacy, which was really cool. And at the time, I was kind of thinking like, oh, I don't know, maybe I love music so much, but maybe I just want to, focus on general elementary ed. Um, so I took this class as a way of exploring that, but honestly, it has ended up being so applicable to my music teaching. I think that's what's amazing to me is all these classes that weren't part of the music major ended up really like developing who I am as a person and who I am as a teacher because I'm able to make those connections now that I'm working with my students on something in music class, but I can tie it into the literacy goals that they have in their other classrooms. So that was probably like the highlight. That class was a really amazing opportunity.
That's wonderful. And I think you weren't sure that you would be in an elementary classroom. That wasn't initially what you thought. But then when you started applying for jobs, if I remember, it's I'll take any, I'll take any classroom.
I mean, I've been like all over the board with where I've always known that I wanted to teach, but I've had a really hard time like narrowing down exactly what age. And honestly, I'm still torn because I did my student teaching with middle school. Now I'm in elementary, and I loved both so much. So I like it all.
That's great. That's really great. Can you tell us about the board behind you in your classroom?
Yeah, this is I have a great big classroom. So this is a little corner of my classroom, but you see there's solfege, hand signs on that side. We use those a lot. That's something that I did not grow up on solfege, and Furman was my first introduction. Um, and then I got really good at using hand signs during my student teaching, and that's something I use a lot in my teaching. And then we're putting together virtual performances since we don't have in-person performances this year, and right now we're working on learning the ukulele chords. So that's all the chord charts are up there for my fourth and sixth graders, and the actual ukuleles, of course, are over here.
That's
So
great. Will you say that again? You said it's chord charts.
yeah,
Okay.
so I don't know that you can see details,
Yeah,
but
I can now. Yeah.
you are my sunshine. I have written out bar by bar which chords they're going to use. Um, and they're color coded to help them keep track of which chord is which.
Okay. And so they'll play their ukuleles. I don't know if I said it right or not. Some people say ukulele, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So they play those and sing along.
So singing is a little tricky right now.
Oh, right.
Oh, this is my nightmare. But yeah, I mean, I really singing is the foundation of how I teach elementary music, and we have not been able to sing this year because you know mask rules have changed in and out, and I'm in a small classroom. I have kids for 25 minutes at a time, so then the next group is coming in, and so for the most part, we have not done a lot of singing, but that has forced me to be creative. So we're doing like cup rhythms for one song. So they literally have a cup. It's like the from Pitch Perfect is what people.
Okay.
Um, they're doing ukuleles. We've been using resonator bells a lot because that's a way for us to still be learning pitch. At first, we got really good at rhythm, but I was like, how are we going to learn pitch without singing? So we've done a lot of resonator bells, and all kinds of different creative instruments. We're doing basketballs. We're using basketballs for one of our songs, like um, tapping out rhythms by bouncing the basketball to go with Vivaldi's Seasons. So
Oh, that's great.
yeah. So, but for these songs, they'll be playing ukulele, and then I'm hoping to get a small group that I can take outside and record them singing outside and layer that on top.
Wonderful.
So,
Very interesting.
yeah, yeah.
Well, one of the questions I was going to ask you was how you had adapted, so you've already answered that and answered it very well. That's exciting. And you teach K through fifth, is that right? Sixth. Okay. And what's the difference between teaching the kindergartners and teaching the sixth graders?
That is one of my favorite things about my job is that
Okay.
it's such a difference. I mean, like they're in such different developmental stages, and for me, it's really cool because I really get to see that whole range. And I'm getting to see them grow into that. Like this is my second year, and so they're a whole year older. I've now known them for almost 2 years, and that's really cool. The kindergartners, it's like putting on a show at every moment. Like I have to be completely excited about everything. And they love anything imaginative. So right now I'm looking at I have a little stuffed monkey who they call Mr. Monkey, and they will do anything for Mr. Monkey. Like
Oh, nice.
Mr. Monkey is gonna watch you line up silently. They're all like, shh. Like I think that's amazing. So with kindergarten, it's a lot of that and a lot of just sort of giving them the basics of music within the context of games. They're learning to keep a steady beat. They're learning so and me right now, so they can put so and me on a 2-line staff. They can read basic rhythms. So kindergarten is a lot of just setting that foundation. And then with sixth grade, I mean, sixth graders are so capable. So they've really mastered these ukuleles. Last year, they were able to do a lot of sight singing. And with sixth grade, they are young adults. And I think we have that kind of relationship where it's like, we want to learn this and we're going to figure it out together. And I can treat them as adults because they act that way. And I think they have learned that they earn that in my classroom, and we have a lot of fun. That's a great age too. So I love the whole range.
That's great. If you didn't have COVID, would you have a choir of fourth, fifth, sixth graders? What would it be?
So last year I started an after school choir that had fourth, fifth, and sixth graders, and I was amazed. When I arrived at the school, they had not had music in like a long, long time. So these students had never had music class really, and they had an art teacher who did some music, but that was a really cool thing because when I first got here, everyone called it art class. And the teachers would be like, okay, we're going to art now, and they would drop them off at my classroom, and I was like, I don't really know anything about art, but the kids really jumped in, and when the time came to do after school choir, I had so many kids sign up. Like almost every fourth grade boy signed up, which is like, that's an amazing thing. So we did have that, and then of course this year we had to sort of put pause on that. I do an after school music explorations class, but it's not choir. So.
Yeah. Well, that's too bad. I'm sure you would have enjoyed being able to conduct a choir.
Yeah.
It's really wonderful to hear about your experiences. I want to go back to Furman a little bit. And so, how did you end up at Furman? Why did you choose Furman?
So when I was a senior in high school, or maybe even a junior, I found myself in kind of a tricky place because I knew I wanted to be at a school with a really strong music program. And so I was looking at conservatories, but I had so many other interests. and I really wanted to be able to explore those. I didn't want to, like, I loved writing, and I didn't want to give that up. And so I was saying, I want a liberal arts school, but with a conservatory level music department. And it turns out that is a really hard thing to find. I mean, I looked all over the country, and there were only a very small handful of schools that met that criteria. And I came to visit Furman, and I met some of the voice faculty, and I really felt like this was a place where I would be able to pursue that music at a high level, but also continue my education in a more well-rounded way. And so that's what drew me.
That's great. My next question is, do you remember anything in particular that shaped your educational career path during your time at Furman? We talked about that elementary education class. We have a lot of opportunities for internships and exploration with the Furman Advantage now. And is there anything like that that was effective for you?
One thing I think of, when I was a freshman, I auditioned for a student-led choir at Furman, the 12 Peers, and I got in. It was a little crazy to me because I had just arrived on campus and I didn't really know what anything was, and that group really became my home very quickly. And I think that ended up really being an experience that shaped my entire time at Furman, because it gave me the opportunity to really, take hold of my own interest in choral education and choral conducting, and collaborate with other students on that. So, by the time I was a senior, I was directing that group, and I was conducting them in concerts and leading rehearsals, and that all happened with the support of the Furman faculty. We received funding from Furman, and I think that kind of student-led, engaged experience was so important that could not have happened, in a classroom. And it was different. Like, I had many wonderful choir experiences that were led by professors, but this was a really unique thing that I don't think you can get anywhere, and that really shaped my experience.
That's great. Did you get to do study away?
I did. Yeah, that's the other thing I immediately thought of. I studied abroad in Italy with the Music in Italy program, and that was my junior year, at the beginning of my junior year, and that, I think, was probably the most profound experience I've had in my whole life. I mean, it really changed who I was as a person, or changed my understanding of who I was and how I related to the world. And it was really a transformational experience.
That's great. Wonderful. I was going to ask you down another path. Have you been able to sing? And how's your voice held up in the classroom? Because it's one of the challenging things about teaching is you get a lot of voice use. How's your voice held up? And have you been able to sing beyond the school setting?
Yeah. Gosh, I knew that would be a challenge, maintaining vocal health. But honestly, I was so well prepared. And I always say to everyone, like, well, I can credit my former voice teacher for setting me up for success here, because really I learned at Furman how to use my voice well. And I think there was a time in the first few weeks of my teaching that I was, I noticed that my voice was tired, and for me, that's like a sign that I need to do something different as far as classroom management, because there's no reason for me to be yelling over kids. That
Right.
means something is not going right. And oftentimes, the louder you get, the louder they get. And so if you just stop and whisper, they get really quiet all of a sudden. So that was something I learned quickly. But, I am singing all day. Maybe not this year, but last year I was singing all day long. And because I was singing correctly, it really wasn't an issue. This year, when I first started with my wearing like a mask, I thought, oh man, I do not know how I'm going to do this. And my students are spread out, a lot in my classroom. So I'm trying to project all the way to the back of the room for, 6 or 7 hours of teaching a day. So I got a microphone and I use that every day now. I just clip it onto my mask because I think I have an awareness of my vocal health that I didn't have before I got to Furman, and so I can feel if this is not working, and that really allowed me to know when I needed to find a different solution.
That's great.
So
Good.
that has worked really well.
Good self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to your experiences at Furman, in your student teaching, what kinds of lessons did you learn that you've been able to apply to the classroom?
I had an amazing student teaching experience. And in part, that was because my cooperating teacher just kind of let me take over. She said, this class is yours. You do what you would like with it. And then within a few weeks, she said, they're all yours, and that was the best thing I could have ever asked for, because it really helped me come into who I was as a teacher. So I was teaching, there were 6 choirs at the school where I was teaching, and I prepared, the pieces with them. I conducted in their concert. I conducted at adjudicated events. And I was amazed at how pretty quickly I had developed my own rapport with the students, and I developed, a sense of who I was as a teacher, which was different from my cooperating teacher. She's a great teacher, but we are not the same person. And so I really appreciated that she let me find that for myself and not just have me copy her. And so I was able to learn from her, and I did gather so many great ideas from her that I still use now, even in the elementary setting. She was a great model for me, but she also was just great about encouraging me to take the reins and figure things out for myself.
That's great. Wonderful. Do you think anything in overall can be done to improve music education in the school systems?
Yeah, I think we have a lot of work to do. I think that we really have to think about how we are going to make music joyful and relevant for every child. And that's something that I have really had to focus on in this position because, like I said, they didn't have music here before. And so, this is something that's new, not just for my students, but also for the community in general. And I had the experience when I was in elementary school. I did not grow up in a musical family. No one I knew had formal musical training. And I remember being in elementary school, and our music class was like writing these reports about composers, and I thought it was the most boring thing in the world. I had nothing to hang that on. It was just sort of arbitrary, random, meaningless information to me that had no real, use in my life. And I think that's something I really keep in mind in my own teaching, because I don't want music to be that for my students. And I recognize that most of them will not become professional musicians. But I want to prepare them for a life of appreciating and enjoying music. And we know now that music has such huge benefits for children and for their overall well-being, that it has, academic benefits and social emotional benefits. And so, music is an end unto itself, but it also is a means for developing all of these other really important skills. And so I think when we recognize that, we can recognize how important it is that we make this something that children buy into. Because if we can't get them to buy in and we can't get it to be joyful, they will never do it again. They will leave our classroom and that will be it. And I want music to be something that they grab onto and hold onto for the rest of their lives. And that does not mean like having no musical standards, because I think sometimes there are 2 camps, and one is oh, we should just enjoy music and just have it be fun, and we don't need to actually learn any, music literacy skills, and we don't need to be very good at it. We'll just have fun. And then there's the camp of like, you have to memorize all of these rhythms and composers. And I really think somewhere in the middle is, you know, children enjoy being good at something, working hard at it, and developing those skills. And so a joyful music education should involve a level of musical excellence. I'm amazed at what my students are capable of. They're 12 years old and they can sight read better than I could in ninth grade just because we do it. And that's what I expect of them. And they love it. I mean, I really think it feels good to work hard at something, and to see the results of that hard work. And so I think that would be what I wish for in music education, is that we're finding ways to work towards that musical excellence while making this a joyful, relevant part of every kid's life.
That's great. That's really wonderful, Rose. Thank you for your perspective. I hope there'll be lots of music teachers out there like you. I was going to ask you, this is just a technical thing. Can you hear the saxophone practicing in the background?
No.
Good. Okay. So I'm in my studio, and I can hear the practice rooms going strong. So I just didn't know if you could hear that or not.
That's good. One of my favorite Furman memories is that there was constantly music, like from every direction.
That's great. That's great. That was actually one of my questions. Do you have any other favorite Furman memories?
There are so many. It's hard to choose. I think one thing I've found myself thinking about a lot recently is, probably because it's spring, is Furman Singers tours.
Oh.
I mean, I miss those so much. And I think those were such a special time for building relationships with all of my colleagues at Furman, my peers, and sharing this amazing music, which, I'm reminded of that constantly. I'll walk outside and it'll be a little humid and I'll think, oh, it smells like a Furman Singers tour. Like, I don't know why, but everything reminds me of Furman Singers tours right now, because it's a special part of my experience at Furman.
That's great. Wow. I am a Furman grad as well, and so I have equal fond memories of those tours. And we have reunions every 2 years or so. I think it'll be not this summer, but the next. The choir will be coming back. So, and there's always a lot of people from all the generations who have those memories, and share together. I think it's a pretty unique thing about Furman that our choir comes back together every couple of years or so. So it's really wonderful. Do you know what your next steps are going to be in life? I know you're traveling around and transitioning for different things. So
yeah. Well, I said earlier that I've never been exactly sure what age I like best, and I think that's something I definitely want to explore going forward. That I love my job and I love my students and I love the elementary age, but I do really look forward to also staying involved in the choral world. Middle and high school choir is something that I really enjoyed doing, and so I think that can take a lot of forms, whether that's like actually a full-time job or whether it's in children's choirs. That's something I definitely miss, and some of that's COVID. I can't even sing in my own choir right now, so it's amazing what a gap that has left in my life. And I think getting to sing every single day pretty much with other people at Furman, that was one of the most wonderful experiences of my life. And I remember the very first rehearsal I ever had with Furman Singers, Dr. Floyd said, when you walk in this room, I want you to leave everything else behind. This place is going to become one of the most special parts of your Furman experience, because we get to do it every single week, every Tuesday and every Thursday. And it doesn't matter what else is happening in your life. It doesn't matter if you've just gone through a big breakup. It doesn't matter if you are unprepared for your juries. No matter what, we get together and we sing together. And that's something that I have missed so much. And I think that's part of why I do really hope to return to the choral world at some point, in some way. But yeah, I mean, I don't have specific plans yet, but I think I do look forward to kind of continuing to expand who I am as a teacher. And um, for me, that means taking on different opportunities, but also pushing my own, growth within, wherever I am. That I think, you know, I've found even just in these last 2 years of teaching elementary school that I'm becoming a better musician every day and I'm becoming a better teacher every day. And that's really exciting.
It's amazing when you have to teach how much more you learn about your music skills.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. I have one more question for you, and that is, what advice would current Rose give to Furman student Rose?
I think I would say to just enjoy it while you're there. I mean, I did really appreciate my Furman experience, even while I was in the middle of it. I think I always knew what a special thing I had, but from the other side, there are so many wonderful things that I miss about Furman and about Furman really gives you this opportunity to pause everything else in your life and really focus on developing who you are as a person and as a musician. And that was such an important time for me. That was really, the relationships that I made at Furman and the connections I made, the classes I took, the experiences I had, those all played such important roles in making me who I am now. And so um, I guess I would just say to really enjoy that while you're in the middle of it, because I think I now have even more perspective to know that like you never really get that again. That's
Yeah.
a unique experience and a unique time in your life that um, that doesn't really carry over into the adult world. And it's something that fuels me even now. That um, all the things I learned there and the memories I have and the relationships I have. I mean, I still like last night I was texting we have a group of all of the music ed candidates for my year, and we're constantly saying, hey, like, I'm not a percussionist, but I'm teaching my kids to play the triangles, and I'm texting them, what is the correct way to play a triangle, And the band guys are like, oh, like this, and they send me a video, or, we're always helping each other, and that's such a wonderful thing that has endured beyond my Furman experience, and it makes me glad that I invested in that while I was there.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for speaking with me today, Rose. I am really grateful that I had the opportunity to work with you when you were a student here. You just really represent all the things that we think are really important in a Furman music education. So we're very proud of you, and I'm glad to know that you're out there making a difference in your community too.